Welcome to Power Up Your Practice, the go-to podcast for law firm owners and managing attorneys working on the business, not in it. I'm Ruby Powers, your guide into the heart of law practice management, bringing your insights from leading legal minds, trailblazing attorneys, and expert guests who provide practical perspectives on running your firm more effectively and efficiently. And before we dive in, I'm thrilled to announce that my latest book, Power Up Your Practice, is out and available on Amazon. It's packed with actionable advice for growing a successful law firm. Be sure to grab your copy today. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for exclusive tips and resources. And if you're enjoying this podcast, we love your reviews. They help us reach more attorneys like you who are striving to build the practice of their dreams. Prepare to open your mind, be inspired, and power up your practice to the next level. Hey everyone, welcome back to Power Up Your Practice. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and we're going to talk about law practice management. But today we have a special episode because I have two guests on the show today who have been regular guest speakers at law practice management, tech shows, and specifically we want to talk about ABA Tech Show, which is just around the corner, April 2nd to 5th in Chicago at the McCormick new location. So we have Mitch Zoll, who's the founder of Zoll Firm in Austin, Texas, so a fellow Texan. He's a business attorney who helps small, mid-sized business owners through every stage of their success from formation to sale by navigating contracts, internal processes, and acquisitions. And before he became a lawyer, he was a business process redesign and strategy consultant with Accenture, advising startups, government agencies, and Fortune 50 companies. I'm also thrilled to have Beau Atkins, who's been on our show before. He's CEO of Evolve Family Law in Canada, and he's a dedicated family law attorney. He spent the last 20 years as a serial entrepreneur, founding and scaling businesses across diverse industries from construction to tech startups, and now redefining family law. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming. Why don't you say a little bit about yourself, Mitch, and then Beau, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Great. Thanks for having me. This is fun to be on the podcast. And as you kind of said, we were trying to map together how we've all met, and we've all met through Tech Show, or the different conferences. Kind of shows the power of showing up in Chicago. I'm coming also from a different hat. I've got the Texas Computer and Technology section. I'm an officer there. So anybody listening, if you're from Texas, we'll be up there at the section at the Tech Show. And excited to talk about the things that we've started learning and ways to survive Tech Show and kind of make it thrive for your purpose and for your firm.
And just for those listening, annual meeting for the state bar is usually in mid-June. And this year it's June 19th to 20th in San Antonio, right?
That is correct. And rooms are flying fast. So if you all are interested in attending that, since it's out in San Antonio, make sure you sign up quickly.
Yeah, it's at the JW Marriott Hill Country Resort. Ooh, that looks like fun. Yeah. Okay. And Beau, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been really interested in tech since 2020. Was really my first exposure to Tech Show. And through the years, just meeting different people and eventually roads leading to meeting you, Ruby, and Mitch. It's just been awesome to be a part of it. Envisioning how I can use tech to just elevate business and elevate my life as part of that.
So, okay, I met you, Beau, because you listened to the podcast a year ago, the episode with Guy, and then we bumped into each other at an event at ABA Tech Show and stayed in touch ever since then. And then Mitch, I met you at the annual meeting in Dallas last June, and we talked. But then how did you guys meet each other?
Just Beau knew cool people and everyone was around him in the hall at Tech Show. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but that dude's cool. I got to find out what we're doing. And so I slowly worked my way in and just kind of like seeing the Beatles, but in the 2000s. And I worked a little closer. I'm like, hey, I'm Mitch. And he was gracious enough to say hello back.
Okay.
Well, I think I'm drawn to cool people, and that's how I was introduced to Mitch.
And I guess me too. Yeah. Okay. All right. And so right before we started, I was asking you guys, because we all had to sort of think for a minute, how many ABA Tech shows have we been to? or when did we start going? I know for me, I first went in 2019 when I was with a group from the ALA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, had like a little super pass, and we went as a little collective, and it was so fun, and it was amazing, mind blown. I didn't go 2020 because I was running for office, but I did 2021, I think was hybrid, right? And then I think I was at 22, 20, I don't know. I feel like I've been it ever since. So
So I left my prior firm and kind of opened my firm at the beginning of 2019. My first boondoggle, was a firm trip to Vegas, firm person of one. But in February, a tech show had come up, and I'd actually always been involved in and interested in technology in my prior firms. And so it was a great opportunity for me to say, that sounds like something I want to try out. So for me, I was just a solo, brand new solo, opened my shop in February of 2019 and decided to go to tech show for my first one. Went 2019, 2020. I can't remember which one. I went to the virtual one for when we did COVID virtual. I did not do, and it was kind of split 50-50. And I did the last 2 years because being in person, they just can't beat it when you're at tech show, the people you get to meet in the hall and in the different sections. So I've been the last couple.
Yeah, and I got my first taste of legal tech attending CleoCon in 2019. That would have been in October when I was with the first office that I founded. And I was sort of transitioning from that office to the new one. That office, I had a couple law partners, and it was a little bit harder to make decisions. And so in February, March 2020, I was transitioning to my new office. But I had already been essentially addicted to the aura of a legal tech conference.
yeah, we're predominantly focusing on ABA Tech Show, but we're also sort of intertwining other legal tech conferences, though, for listeners, because actually, like last year, for example, I went to like Lex Summit for Filevine CleoCon, and then I was the chair of the ALA Tech Summit, and then I was at ABA Tech Show. So I think sometimes a lot of us sort of roam at the same places, and then we sort of forget where we saw each other. But the one that seems to be like in the Venn diagram of overlap is the ABA Tech Show for the most part, because and actually, now that we're bringing this up, ABA Tech Show 2019, my first time. And while I was there, I won a free trip to CleoCon's 2019. And Beau, you said you were at the CleoCon 2019, but I don't think I met you until 2024. But I was there. It was San Diego, and it was a lot of fun. So
I actually won the trip for CleoCon in 2020.
Really? Wow.
Probably the same contest. So you won it in 2019. I won it in 2020, except you got the better deal because for me, the CleoCon ended up being canceled.
Oh.
So I ended up, they're like free airfare and accommodations, which was great for me coming from Canada with your guys' dollar comparison. This was an awesome price. And then I got virtual passes. They ended up throwing in some other things, but
well, that was very generous of them. But
it was.
So for a person who's never been to ABA Tech Show, like what's like a quick commercial or tagline? What is it? And then maybe we'll talk about what to do before you go, while you're there, and afterwards, just to walk through that way. So what is ABA Tech Show to you, and why should you go?
It sounds like Beau and I were a little bit in a similar place. I was a brand new lawyer coming out, not a lawyer, but new firm. And it sits right in the great spot of learning and kind of networking and shopping, I guess is the best way of thinking about it. Ruby, you and I were talking about one of the neat things about Tech Show that's different from some of the state bar conferences is, when you're at a state bar conference, you're finding either a group of people already. You're finding the people from your law school or your section or things like that, the groups that have already been formed. Tech Show is people coming up in ones and twos and threes from their firm from all over the country and into Canada, who are just interested in learning this type of material and bettering their practice. So it's really easy to sit down at the breakfast table and meet people. That's one of the neat things that kind of makes Tech Show special as someone showing up. Every time I've gone down there, I sit down at the breakfast table and everybody's interested in meeting, sharing. What are you working on? Oh, I'm working on this. So if you're starting a firm, it's a great place to see all of the main vendors, all of the different opportunities, but also the people who are using that So you can sit at breakfast and go, okay, there's like 6 practice management software systems. What do you use, or what should we transition to? And you've got the heads of the company there, the tech heads, but the users as well. And then mixed throughout that, you've got 2 full days of programming of people who are deep diving on any particular subject, be it how to use that Adobe PDF or Microsoft Word, or how to get marketing, or how to work with Microsoft more. So you can spot learn on issues, or you can learn practice management.
Yeah, and I think for me, the first tech show I attended, I brought 3 people from my office, also just to explore the different tracks and get whatever we could out of it. But I think the thing that most attracted me to it, and Ruby, you and I have discussed a little bit in the past about different mindsets. And I think it's almost impossible, at least it was impossible for me in 2020, not to approach tech show with a beginner's mindset. I mean, you walk down to the exhibit hall and it's drinking from a fire hose. It can be really overwhelming. And I feel like, I'm sure you guys can relate to walking down the halls. You can see the look of terror of lawyers at their first tech show who are like deer in headlights, because it can be overwhelming. And I think that was one of the really cool parts, is everybody, most of the people in 2020 were there with a beginner's mindset. And I think the pace that technology is going, I know I'd be there with a beginner's mindset this year. I can't ever imagine me not having that approach, which is super exciting.
So I think a good way to divide it up is it's sort of like part expo hall, where a lot of vendors who normally might not go to your particular bar or your state bars conference are going to come to. Like, a lot more come to this. And then it's part CLE, with like a lot of law practice management focus, with a hint of like marketing, but a lot of tech. And how to use, and some practical parts about how to use specific programs, as well, and that a lot of us are using. And then there's like the thought leader and the meeting of the minds aspect, where that comes with the bumping into each other at an expo hall or at an event like Beau and I met at, or something like that. Like, even Mitch, I think I was at one of like that happy hour functions or something. I don't remember exactly. And then I came and talked to you for a little bit before I headed back to Houston. But I also see is that, like, the people who come to this, like you were mentioning, 1s and 2s and 3s, like they're not cliquish. They're not like, oh, I need to stay in my people or anything. They're all like, hey, you're cool. Hey, I'll talk to you. Like, what do you know? And let's share ideas. And I've heard of many success stories where tech company ideas were like, incubated at ABA Tech Show. And so I think the other thing, what I've also noticed, is that when you get all these people who are sort of at that high, level vibration thinking like this, that you also start seeing the future of where things are going. Like, I remember watching the presentation about AI at the 2019 ABA Tech Show, and I just was like, oh my gosh, this is so. It was Ed Walters, and he was doing a walkthrough on some AI simulation type of a thing, and I was just like, wow, I was like mind blown. And that was 2019, and I remember, like, the big focus maybe like in, I guess they were saying back in like 2009, 10, 11, whatever, was like cloud, this and that. And now it's been a lot of AI for the last few years. Being on the board, we were already sort of like discussing, should we even mention AI in the title? Because it's like already baked in, like, let's just stop seeing it. But anyway, okay. So I think we've already told them why they should go. And I think the reason why I didn't go earlier was mostly because I was trying to manage my own law firm, my small kid family. And then it was like, how can I incorporate yet another conference into the mix? I don't think you necessarily have to go every year necessarily, but it's exciting and addictive to go every year. But even if you can just go every once in a while and just see what's going on. And they make it pretty conducive, because if you just want the expo hall pass, right now it's free. If you just want the expo hall pass, you go there and you can run around and you still can get a lot of value. It's not the complete thing, but at least you can meet people and talk to vendors. So what should a person do before they go? So let's say they decided they're going.
So there's a couple of things that we were putting together a list of the things that you can do to prepare yourself for Tech Show. And I mean kind of organizationally prepare yourself. We're talking about how everybody gets to know each other and meet each other. One simple thing to do, use this as the reason to update your LinkedIn. If you click on someone's LinkedIn and their contact info is their LinkedIn profile, that's really hard to continue to engage with somebody. So even if you're going that, update your contact information, update your social media, update your picture. There's a few people who I think their pictures are from the 80s, which is like, that's fine. I personally hate to be on the wrong, as I say, the wrong side of a camera. But a tech tip, I used a AI tool called Aragon.ai, and you load up 20 pictures and it'll spit out 200 pictures for you to use as your profile. And if anybody goes to my LinkedIn or my Tech Show speaker profile, that is not me, that is AI. I tried to fix it. I tried to do like the skinny pictures from like high school to see if I could throw the AI off. I know I told I was 20 instead of 50. But so I was trying to mess with the AI. Somehow it caught me. It's close. It's still not me, but it looks appropriate. You will be able to recognize me from my show, from my picture. So using that, updating your pronunciation guide. This was a tip that I saw in one of these master classes. You can do a recording of your voice. You get 10 seconds in that button. So it doesn't just have to be how to pronounce your voice. You can introduce yourself in that little 10-second clip in your LinkedIn. Another thing I tell people to do is create a link tree. My link tree is actually on my website. We're talking to small solo and small firms. Don't rent spaces on somebody else's land on that link tree. You can create your own, that you can have a link on your website that you can give to people that has all your contact information, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and all of that. And then another really big pro tip that if you haven't signed up for Tech Show, you're going to want to know. If you already have, you're going to want to know for next year. Use an alias email. So if you're using Microsoft email, you can use an alias. Mine's really simple. It's not like I'm hiding, but it lets you organize, because you're going to start hearing from vendors and other folks. You can organize your rules in your Outlook to send that alias to a special folder. Mine's EOD, end of day. And it doesn't interrupt your day of when you're going through all the emails of, hey, come see us, let's talk. And are you interested in this product? But it lets you at least know where that information goes. So info@Zoll Firm goes to a folder, and every day at the end of the day, spend my dedicated time going through that. That's a great way to kind of set yourself up now to manage your time for later. And then you can use rules. I know with Google, if you do the plus sign after your Gmail email, so Mitch plus TS, that's your texture. You can filter on that way as well if you're a Gmail user.
That's
Wow,
good
I'm getting a ton of tips from
sneaky little tech tips.
I wish I had spoken to him before at the previous tech shows, because that's the reality. Is you walk around and vendors can be aggressively trying to get to scan your pass so that they'll infiltrate your inbox, and it can create a bit of overwhelm even after all of tech show. One of the things that I found best helped me prepare is download the app, figure out who's going to be there. That you can look through the attendees, you can look through speakers, you can look through all the vendors, and create a map of who you want to see while you're there, what you actually want to accomplish. Because that's where I was speaking about some of the first time attendees where it's overwhelming. And if you don't have any direction for what you want to achieve, go in with an intention. I want to get better at, maybe I want to figure out more about what this thing called AI is. And I think, unfortunately, there's still a lot of lawyers in that position where they feel behind. Set that intention. Seek out the people, the companies, the other networking opportunities that you want to get through, and go through with that.
And you can do that both for speakers and companies. Some folks will reach out ahead of time. I promised I'd give him a shout out because he can't make it this year. But Daniel over at Law Broker, I joke, is the hardest working man in Tech Show. Like, he is meeting everybody. He'll introduce you to everybody. I'd never heard of Law Broker before, but he said, reach out, let's grab a beer before Tech Show starts. I did. It's actually a great product for the right fit. So if you've got a high volume of people coming in, you need to kind of funnel them to figure out, are you the right fit for what they're needing? Law Broker lets you kind of use the questions and answers to guide them to see if they should even call you ahead of time. But I wouldn't have found out about it if I didn't have that pre-meeting just 20 minutes before Tech Show. But you can meet vendors ahead of time or other folks that are speakers.
+2 for Daniel Stein, Daniel and Law Broker. Awesome guy to talk to, very generous with his time. And I think that's something you'll get your second or third Tech Show, is you'll start to see the people who aren't necessarily just, because it can sort of feel like you're in a bit of a Shark Tank. And there have been vendors that are sort of a one-off. In 1 year they're there, and the next year, and you never see them again. But you start to get a feeling for the people that are there, and people you can learn from, and then it's infectious. I find I go to it because of the generosity others have shown me. Ruby, you're a prime example with the content that you put out there. And then I feel almost a sense of responsibility to assist people, and if anyone else has questions, and I can actually answer them, or at least point them in the direction, I feel that obligation to help.
Yeah. Well, I think, to echo what you guys are saying, like having the goals of what your intention of what you're trying to accomplish. Like, is it, I need to find a new case management software, or I just want to browse and make sure what I have is probably the best thing, or, whatever. I want to be able to, and then that's also the thing about the vendors. Like, do you want to spend a lot of your time talking to them, or do you want to make that initial contact, schedule a demo, and do it offsite so you can still be running around? And because this time goes by really fast. Like, for those who never checked out the ABA Tech Show, you just look up techshow.com is the website, and it pretty much starts Wednesday evening with the startup alley, which is always so much fun. The startup pitch competition, and then there's they get out there, the 15 innovative legal startups, and then you vote. And then after that, there's a welcome reception. Sometimes there's like different parties and times to meet up. And then Thursday and Friday are like full on CLEs with expo hall running around type of days. And then Saturday is usually a combo of like a half day with the closing breakfast. And this year we've got the 40 tech tips in 40 years, and 60 tech tips in 60 minutes. So it ends around 12 on that Saturday. So it's like Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday, full day, and half of Saturday. I'd say also just making a point, sort of like you were mentioning on Mitch, like a point about mentioning on your LinkedIn that you're going, so that you can sort of find who else is going. Hey, let's meet up there. Let's talk, hey, maybe you could talk before and then connect, or you can meet up while you're there. So this is probably around the right time to start doing that, when you're right before the conference. And then making plans to connect with those individuals, maybe make like a little chat group, WhatsApp group, or what have you, so that you can, while you're there, you can sort of see what's the coolest thing, where should you go, type of thing, and who should you meet with. But and I think in general, just like also making a plan so that you tell your team, I'm really going to be there. I want to be present. I don't want to be working. Like, I want to be working on this and be present in the moment, and not be trying to run a law firm at the same time. So when you're there, what would you suggest are some of the best tips?
There's a couple of things, truly, and we're sort of kind of dancing around it and dancing on it. Be prepared to meet people. I've been messing with Chat GPT and playing with that, and it's all been work stuff. I haven't shared any of my deep dark secrets, but I did ask at one point, like, what do you know about me? What do you think about me? And it said perfectly correctly that I'm an ambivert, right? So in a professional setting, it said you're probably gregarious and you're going to meet people, but in social settings, you're an introvert, you take off. And that's probably very true. So all during tech show, during the day, I'll be meeting people, saying hello in the hall. There'll be a happy hour afterwards, and maybe like a minute in, I'll go, hey, I gotta, and I'll just completely disappear. So if you're in that
saying that, then I'm going to be like, no, you're not.
Yeah. I did my favorite one year. I was like, oh, I just got to change my shoes real quick. Gone. Because another tip: bring comfortable shoes. There's a lot of walking in tech show. Oh my gosh. But I was like, no, I just changed my shoe, and I just put on my Clio socks and chilled out, opened my laptop, and was in the room. So if you're sitting at home thinking like, oh, I'm an introvert, there's space for us as well. So you can navigate the conference as much as you need. But having the business cards, having the insight and interest to, when you sit down at that breakfast table, just look around and actually see the folks there and just say, what do you hear and what are you doing? You'll find people who are in your same practice area, in your state or in another state, who can give you advice that you may never have thought about without having that moment to engage with someone who's doing the same thing you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would mirror a lot of those comments. I think dining, all the networking events that happen outside of it, the other activities, there's pretty much something for everyone, I think, that happens as an extracurricular. Just find what it is that interests you. I found it really helpful to sort of make conference buddies, so make plans if you've got somebody else, like Mitch was saying. So if you say, I got to change your shoes, but if you've got a conference buddy who's like, hey, where are you? You might have somebody who will actually pull you a little bit outside of your comfort zone, hopefully not too far. But I think that's where growth happens, is when you aren't as comfortable as you might be. And so those are some of the strategies I've got, because I think I definitely have a lot of that too, where after just the flood of information that you get, I'm ready for bed at like 7 p.m. But there's a lot going on at 7 p.m. and you have to balance that.
Yeah.
Sometimes having that added pressure can
There's
help.
a lot of FOMO, I think, because it's like, wait, they're going to go out and I want to go do that.
Well, so for people,
marathon, though, yeah.
So first timers, to the extent, and I'm sure a lot of your audience already knows a lot of what's going on at Tech Show, but just to kind of fill in the space. For first timers, when you first get there, one of the great things that Tech Show does that I'm hoping to bring to the State Bar meeting for our track is a first timers track. So if you're sitting listening to this podcast and it's a week or so out for Tech Show and you're like, I don't know, you have a buddy, I don't have a buddy, I'm not sure, you actually can go to a room where it's the first timers for Tech Show. And I'm not sure how it's being set up this year, but you can basically say, hey, I'm new. And the support of the community is like, I got you. Let's go meet people. And we'll bring you around, and you're welcome to see any of us or other Tech Show board people. Just let them know I'm looking for a buddy who will let me go change my shoes and disappear. And we will make sure to introduce you to people. There are also parties. There's a party the first night that everybody's can go to for the 40th anniversary. I guess that's Friday night. And they have what's called Taste of Tech Show dinners, which are on the website. You can sign up for some of our kind of long-standing speakers who will host a 8-10 person dinner. You're still paying on your own way, but they'll bring everybody together and you can talk deep dive on some of the topics or just have a great Chicago meal. So you will not be alone unless you truly want to be.
Yeah, I think that the phrase, Mitch, you hit it on the head, support of the community, embodies what Tech Show has been for me. And a big reason why it's made me addicted to legal tech shows generally is it's a different aura. I mean, we've all been to other legal conferences, and in comparison, for me, they're dull and drab, and it's like there's a cloud hovering over everybody's head. Whereas a tech show, the sun's out and everybody's supporting one another. And yeah, there might be a little bit of stress and anxiousness just because of everything, all the information, but it's a really cool vibe.
And there's so much to say. I'm just like looking at the website and thinking about it and getting really excited. I need to make sure I my sessions that I'm on, because I forgot to do that before, but I'm going to be speaking about the RV lawyering. I mean, you could sort of maybe think of like Lincoln lawyering or whatever. I mean, it's basically like, on the go, sort of pulling from some of my time when I ran my law firm from Dubai, or like what we do now and just how to leverage it. Like now it seems more commonplace, but there's RV lawyering 1 and 2. And then I'm also going to be talking about CRMs. And which sessions are you on, Mitch?
So I'm a new speaker, so I have kind of a buried slots. I'm actually the first slot on Thursday. And we'll be talking about kind of the staying within your ecosystem. So I'll be presenting sort of the microside side of it. Mark Unger out of San Antonio, attorney, he'll be presenting the Apple side with a flavoring of, and how does that relate to Microsoft Copilot or Apple Intelligence? So if you're looking to understand kind of what happens when I'm within this web and why would I stay within it, we're going to do a very quick but deep dive into what it's like to be within each of those different ecosystems. Apple Intelligence is actually harder. I've been gathering articles. They haven't been really rolling out as much as they promised last June. But we'll still try and find a way to let you all know how you can use those tools in your practice. And then my session on Friday, last session before the party. So we're going to party in our session. We're going to start it early if you're inclined. Is talking about using tech and financial tools to improve the financial aspect of your practice. So I'll be adding in some lawyer perspectives and some tools you can use in your practice, along with Jaden, who's going to be speaking on the financial CPA side.
Awesome. And I think another tip while you're there, besides like pre-analyzing, which sessions you want, because it's not being recorded and the sessions are really good. So there could be some at the same time and you just have to decide which one are you going to go to. So it's tough when you have like really good speakers at the same time. You're like, but also like posting what you're seeing on social media, because it almost creates like this little ecosystem of like, and then it makes you realize, you're in this session, or you saw the keynote here. And it just sort of, I've done that a lot at other tech shows or tech conferences. And it just sort of creates this like community where your people are like commenting and reposting, and it's a lot of fun. And it can also expand your reach, because then you can bump into people that you really are friends of friends and you really want to meet them. But for the social media activity, you might not have made that connection.
Yeah, I looked ahead, and some of the people I'm speaking with, they've got good sessions. So I won't be upset if everyone wants to go see Catherine Reach or Joe Calloway or somebody. But and that's if there's a complaint about tech shows, sometimes it's, wow, there's 3 sessions I want to go to at the same time. Most, or I think everybody puts in papers, so you can always go look and see what was said in those papers. You can also just find the speaker and say, hey, I had to chose the other one, but I want to find out what you spoke about. Can you give me any updates? And I know that the speakers across the board would be willing to share.
Yeah,
that's I think you raised a good, Ruby, you raised a good point about putting sort of thoughts together on social media. That's something I've started to do. And then you tag the speaker. Now all of a sudden you're connected with the speaker. Anybody else who's interested can look at that. But the other cool thing I've gotten from posting about sessions I attend, one, it keeps me engaged the whole time. I'm taking notes, and quick tech hack, I take the notes in the form of my LinkedIn post. Then I take a picture, I get ChatGPT to convert that to copy and pastable format, and my post is written, because my notes are basically a post. And then from there, the other thing it really makes me do is I pay attention, because if I get something wrong and I've posted it out there, now the speaker who's tagged can say, that's not what I said at all. That's not the takeaway. And so I have some responsibility and accountability in that sense. But it really forces me to be looking for those takeaways.
No, you're really good at your posts, Beau. I'm always amazed at how much effort and focus you put in those. I mean, they're really good summaries, because I think what happens is you're a little sleep deprived, you're a little bit too much on coffee, right? It's a marathon, and then you have to remember, what are my goals? Like, I want to talk to this person, I want to talk to these vendors, I want to meet a few people. I can compare notes on this, case management software, whatever. Or I want to expand my reach. I want to have a better understanding of how to use the programs I already have, whatever your intention. But then you want to make your to-do list of what you're learning so that the stuff doesn't just come in one ear and go out the other, and you just hit the ground running your law firm when you come back, on Monday. So that I would say block off time to implement what you learned, really get some emails out of people to connect with those you've met. What I do a lot is I'll just make sure I connect with them. I'll take a picture of, I know you could scan it somehow, but there's a way to scan so you can get connected on LinkedIn. But if I'm in a rush, I'll just take a picture of their ID and then I'll get on LinkedIn later with them. But whatever it is, making sure you follow up and make those connections. So it's not just a fleeting moment, because they can be long lasting relationships and they can help encourage you and continue. The people who go to ABA Tech Show are the ones who are really thinking how can I improve, not just in the tech space, a lot of law practice management and very innovative thinkers. So it looks like we're running close to the end. What would you say are some last minute tips of what to do afterwards, or something not to, make sure you don't forget, at ABA Tech Show?
I think your comment there at the end was when I really put a star by. Right now, plan, and I kind of block it as Tuesday, Friday, then Tuesday, Wednesday of the next 2 weeks. And this is my 30 minutes or an hour and 9 in the morning of those times that I'm reserving to implement something I've learned, follow up with someone that I connected with, or have a vendor meeting. Because there's a lot of friction going back and forth. And when can you? Well, let me look at that. You don't want to add to the time that you have to do there. So create blocks that fit for your calendar and just block out that time like you're in court and hold on to those, and then say, okay, this is something I want to implement and deep dive and think about. I'm going to do that Tuesday after Tech Show when it's still fresh. I want to get there. Or someone's like, I really want to sell you this item, and if you do, I'm going to get you the free ticket to CleoCon. Then you're like, okay, that's Wednesday. So have that plan ahead of time to make sure you implement these things, because it's a great show, but there's a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, and I feel like I've benefited from a day off in this, and I love Chicago as a city. There's a lot to do, a lot to explore. My day off is I'm not thinking about work. I'm trying not to think about Tech Show or connect with anybody, whether it's usually it's a day or two after Tech Show. I add an extra day, walk the Lincoln Park Zoo, just walk around, check things out. And I find that that's a really good way for me to debrief and
Yeah.
sort of unwind.
And so in the past, it's been in February, it's been in March. Right now it's in April. I don't know when it'll be in 2026, but so this will be the first time I'll be in Chicago in April. And I don't know when I last did that, but the weather is beautiful. It's great. One of the museums that I went to at a conference when I was there was the Museum of Science and Industry. And I left it not knowing there was a submarine in the basement. So now I have to go back because I saw the plane, I saw this other stuff, I saw the mine thing, I don't know, whatever. There was a mirror hall or something. Anyway, but yeah, I think there's architecture tour, boat tours. There's a lot of crazy stuff so I would say make your little Tech Show bingo. Who do you need to connect with, to meet with? What do you want to learn? Who do you want to meet as a vendor? I would say, keep in mind, what Mitch was talking about, maybe your tendency is to want to go recharge. Keep that in mind, but also I'd say always be talking to somebody new, not just hanging out with the people you came with if you come with the group. And make sure that you could say you met some new people and got some new ideas, because you definitely are going to do that. It's hard to not have that happen. So what would you say is either an amazing resource you want to share, or book, podcast, resource, or tech tip, and then how can people stay in touch with you as we're closing up?
Your podcast is a great, so I'm just gonna kind of turn it around and give it back. And actually the two of you, I was in the audience when the two were transitioning between Ruby and Beau. They're speaking at CleoCon. So after having met them both, so I would, easy tech tip is reach out, follow Beau and Ruby on Instagram and LinkedIn, and connect and follow their content, because as we were saying, Beau does phenomenal LinkedIn posts. That's an easy one to keep up with. I think just kind of throwing this out there, because someone may not know at this point in the call, we're doing this because we've all met and built a community together. We don't make a commission on the tech show time, so we're not getting a toaster if you guys show up as listeners. We want to show you that this is a welcoming and inviting community. And so this is sort of how this podcast and group came together. And so we want everybody to think and feel the same. If you see us in the hall, come up and say hello. I'll show you, the place where I met Beau, and that kind of thing. And you can definitely connect with anybody who's there. I'm easy to follow. Follow me on LinkedIn, Mitch Zoll. I just started Instagram at zoll.law. I've got like 4 posts. I'm very excited that I pulled it off. So ZOLL, or check out my website, or come see me on Thursday or Friday at Tech Show.
Awesome. And I would definitely, as you know, Ruby, we met because I sort of posted about your podcast. So that's a great resource. I'm going to share another resource, which is a book that I'm presently reading called The AI Driven Leader, because it's an excellent, I found it to be an excellent book, AI Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. It's really thought-provoking in terms of how you can use AI to really enhance and elevate the way you strategize in terms of your business. So that's been an excellent resource. Otherwise, I think the podcasts, most of the speakers I find who have gotten to the point where they're speaking at Tech Show, they've got resources out there. They've got podcasts, they've got articles. Follow them, because there's a reason why they're speaking at Tech Show. They're an authority, and they've done some really cool things. I expect, Mitch, I know you've been on a number of podcasts, and I know you've got resources out there. Look for those, because that can really enhance the connection that you end up having with those speakers as well.
Yeah, all really great advice. So I hope that we persuaded you to go. And if you weren't, and you were already going anyway, gave you some good tips on how to maximize your experience. I also have an article out with the ABA Law Practice magazine on how to maximize your experience. And so we'll definitely put that in some of the notes as well. But thank you guys. It's great. And it's so funny, like, even though Mitch, you're in Austin, I've only met you once in person, but we've connected. And Beau, you're in Canada, but I've seen you a couple of times the last year. So it sort of feels like geography isn't an issue. It's like once you start finding your people and you can share ideas, you help inspire each other, and we stay connected through social media. You don't even really care where the person lives or normally is located. But
well, and it might be easier soon if we become a 51st state, then we don't have services.
You had to go there.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Does that mean we can get there easier? I don't know. Well,
I'll be glad to be paid in American dollars.
So would I.
You'll need a lot of lawyers to figure out how that would work. Well, anyway, thanks so much for coming on and helping talk about the benefits of ABA Tech Show and just Tech Show and tech summits and shows in general. And we'll just all stay in touch. And if you see one of us at ABA Tech Show, at a tech show, just come talk to us and let's connect. So have a great day. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Power Up Your Practice Law Practice Management Podcast. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave us a review, tell someone else about us, and I would love to get this podcast shared with others to reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for exclusive content, tips, and updates straight to your inbox. And exciting news, our book, The Power Up Your Practice, is out and available on Amazon. It's packed with strategies, 25 chapters, to help you elevate your practice and achieve your goals. So join us next week as we dive into more advice and insight on law practice management. We'll see you next time.